Hi everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name's Amber and today's video is going to be the 25 books that I want to read in the year 2025. So if you watched my last video, which was my stats for 2024, you'll already know that my 24 books to read in 2024 challenge did not go very well. Of the 24 books, I only read 8 of them, I DNF'd 6 of them, and then I still have 10 of those books on my TBR now. So it's not like a complete disaster. I did either read or DNF half of them, at least half. However, it's not exactly as well as I wanted to do with that challenge. So I've basically decided to carry a few of those books over to my 25 books that I want to read in 2025, but not all of them, because I want to make this list really fresh and really exciting for me to read and to actually want to read all these books, as well as a couple that I feel like I really do need to prioritize because they're part of a series and I don't want to leave too big of a gap, or they are 5-star predictions, etc, etc. So I will put some graphics on the screen if I haven't already of my 24 books in 2024. Did I read them? If so, what was the star rating? Ones that I DNF'd and also the ones that are still on my TBR. But the ones that I am carrying over to this list, I have to start with Miracle Creek by Angie Kim. This is the oldest book on my TBR at the moment and it has been for quite a while. It was one that I specifically mentioned in my 2024 reading goals video where I said I need to read this one because it's the oldest book on my TBR and I still haven't done it. I don't know why I'm not reading it. This year is the year that I will read it. If I don't read it this year, it's coming off the TBR because you clearly don't want to read it if it's there for 5 years. The next book on this list, I'm probably going to struggle with the author name, but it's Chain Gang All Stars by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. I'm sorry, that probably wasn't the right pronunciation. This book sounds so interesting. It's basically about the American prison system and it's in a dystopian society where I think they do televised fights between prisoners and they can win things like money or early releases. I think that's what it is anyway. And it just sounds like it's a very interesting social commentary on the prison system. I've heard that it's got footnotes and things about real facts about the prison system and I just think that would be really interesting. So that's another one that I didn't read in 2024 but I'm still really highly anticipating it. Next up is Shark Heart by Emily Herbeck. This one is a speculative romance kind of book. We're following this couple and one of them has got this kind of disease where unfortunately they're going to be turning into a great white shark, and it's set in this speculative dystopian society where that is not an uncommon thing for somebody to turn into an animal. And apparently it's written in really short snippets, really small chapters. It's very emotional and I just think I'm gonna love it. So that's another one that I want to prioritize. And then a couple that I have physically, so I have no excuse not to read them. Firstly, we've got Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. This is one that I was really interested in reading at the start of 2024, and then because I didn't jump on that immediately, it just has kind of been sat there. I'm pretty sure that there's recently been a TV show about this, so maybe this is the perfect time to read it. This is basically set in the 1960s and we're following this boy who is sentenced to this young offenders institution, and apparently it's just the most horrific place to be. I think it's set on a real place, and I believe that The Reformatory by Tananarive Due is also about this same institution. That's another book that's on my TBR, so yeah, I should definitely read this year. And then the last one that I've carried over from my last list is Animal by Lisa Taddeo. This has just been on my list for years. I never really hear anything about it, and then recently I've heard quite a few people talking about it and saying that it was a really good good for her book. Maybe. This is about a woman who goes travelling after her former lover commits suicide very publicly. And I don't really know what it's about, but I've heard that it's quite dark, gritty. I don't really know much more than that, but I think I'm either going to love this or hate it, and I really just need to try it so I know. That is the last one that is coming from my 2024 list. So next up is a book that I've wanted to read for a long time because I'm pretty sure it's my granny's favourite book, and it's Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. Obviously this is just a classic. I don't really know a ton about the story. The most I know about it is we've got Heathcliff and Cathy, and I think I know that mostly from Kate Bush's song which I've recently been like listening to quite a lot because that is such a good song. I am kind of scared for it because it's a classic and it's my granny's favourite book, so there's quite a lot of high expectations around it, but I'm excited to see what I think about it. A new release that I don't think has come out yet but is coming out this year is Sky Daddy by Kate Folk. This book is about a woman who is attracted to aeroplanes and basically wants to, I want to say, does she want to like die on an aeroplane, or she wants to do something on an aeroplane and then die? I don't know, basically. But the cover, very interesting. The idea, very interesting. And I have read a book by Kate Folk before called Out There, which was a collection of short stories, and I really loved that book. I gave it like a high 4-star. So I'm very interested to read her first full-length novel, and I will be getting it as soon as it comes out. Next up on my list is Of Cattle and Men by Anna Paula May. Firstly, I love the cover of this book. I love the pink. I don't really know a ton about this book, but it is a shorter book, and I remember reading the back and it reminded me a lot of Tender is the Flesh. I think it's a commentary on how we treat cattle and animals and things like that, which always kind of gets me. It always pulls me in emotionally. And my boyfriend also wants to read this, so I think it will be quite fun if we read it together. So that is another one that I'm very much looking forward to this year. And then on to another pink book. We've got Escape and Control by Steve Holliman. I actually just started reading this book last night and I'm already drawn into it. So I'm only very early on in the book, but we're basically following a character, Steve Holliman, who is also the author of this book, who's written a manuscript and he only had one copy of it, and then one day it was stolen. This professor reaches out to him, says that he's found the manuscript. He's very interested in it and would they like to kind of collaborate on it. Steve looks at this manuscript and realizes that somebody has written different chapters within it. And I'm just at the part where we're kind of reading through this book, and both Steve and the guy that has found the manuscript are putting footnotes in, and it very much reminds me of House of Leaves at the minute, like the way that it's formatted. And it did actually make a little bit of a shout out to House of Leaves. Like, this professor was just going absolutely on one about some academic stuff, and Steve says, I'm not convinced this is the kind of tone we ought to be going for. This isn't House of Leaves, which actually made me giggle. So yeah, I'm really excited about this one. I've seen that it's very like meta. I mean, the fact that the main character in this book is also the author, it's kind of reminding me of True Crime Story by Joseph Knox. So yeah, I just feel like I'm really gonna love this book. I'm only on page like 40, but for me, getting to page 40 of a book just before bed is an achievement in itself. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to carrying on with this one. Next up is a book called Strange Pictures by Yuketsu. So again, I don't think this is out, or it might just have come out just as I'm like filming this video. I've heard that this is a very mysterious book. I'm not sure if it's a novel or short stories or what, but it features lots of little creepy illustrations. It just sounds like a really interesting premise. Again, I like the cover, and yeah, I'm definitely going to try and read this one soon. Another horror that I really want to read is Rest Stop by Nat Cassidy. Firstly, I'm very interested in the cover of this book, but it is a horror novella about this guy who gets himself trapped in like a rest stop bathroom. And if you know me, you'll know that that massively reminds me of We Need to Do Something by Max Booth III, which is like one of my favourite horror novellas of all time. I just feel like this will be really fun. Apparently it's quite gory, body horror. I think it's got a bit of a unbelievable ending, but I'm excited. I think I might love it. Next up, we've got an author that I have read from before and love everything that she does pretty much, and that is Janice Hallett. I've not read The Examiner yet, and I definitely want to do that this year. I recently read The Mysterious Case of the Alberton Angels. I've read The Appeal before. I gave both of those books 5 stars. But yeah, The Examiner sounds really good. I think it's more of a dark academia twist on what she's done before, so another one that I think I'm gonna love. Another shorter book that I'm hoping to get to is It Lasts Forever and Then It's Over by Anda Marken. This is about a girl who I think is a zombie or has turned in like a zombie apocalypse, and we're basically following from her perspective, and it's meant to be quite a sad, reflective, like introspective book. I do quite love a zombie story, and I think it would just be interesting to read from like a zombie's perspective. And I think this is a novella as well, so it should be quite an easy one to get to. A couple more horrors that I want to get to. Firstly, The Horror by David Sodergren. So I've read one book from David Sodergren, which was Dead Girl Blues. It made it to my best books of last year. I just really love his writing style. It's very like tongue-in-cheek, but also very disturbing and dark. It just really worked for me. So there's tons of other books I want to get to from him, but I think I want to prioritise the horror. I've heard lots of good things about this one. It's about an elderly woman who lives in Scotland. People are coming in and want her to sell her house so that they can build land on it, and she's basically saying no, no, no. And then judging from the cover of the book, this kind of creature is involved as well. I feel like it's going to remind me of We Spread by Ian Reid, because we've got that elderly female character, but I'm also hoping that it's got some of the like goriness that Dead Girl Bullies had. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. One that I recently got given for Christmas, which I'm so excited about, is She's Always Hungry by Eliza Clark. I love Eliza Clark. I've read her 2 previous books, Boy Parts and Penance, and I loved both of them. I'm so excited for this. This is a collection of short horror stories. I love a horror short story. I love Eliza Clark's writing style. I just feel like it's the perfect combination. And also this pink and red together is just stunning. The next one, you'll have to forgive me because I can't really remember the premise of this book, but it's called The Wall by Marlon Haushofer. This is a dystopian book. I want to say it's about a wall. Like separating something. Oh, honestly, I don't know. I'm so sorry, I can't remember. I just know it's a dystopia. It maybe has a cow in it. I think it has a cow on the cover. I mean, hopefully it's a nice story about the cow and not like of cattle and men, where I imagine it's going to be pretty awful. So yeah, I'm so sorry, I can't tell you more about this, but I remember reading the premise and thinking it sounded just quite interesting. Another like reflective dystopia book. I think it's meant to be quite slow paced, but I think it might be a nice one to just, you know, slowly think about life. So that's why I've added it to this list. Next up is a 5-star prediction that I made last year, and this is Know My Name by Chanel Miller. This is the memoir of Chanel Miller, who was the victim involved in, it was the like Stanford University one where Brock Turner, I think was his name, basically sexually assaulted her and then got the lightest sentence possible. And it's just about her side of the story, and I'm so excited to read this. I think it's going to be very thought-provoking and very moving and just very sad, but I think it will also have a lot of commentary about how we treat people of a certain class. So I think I'm going to love this one. Next up, I've got a couple of series that I want to continue in. First up, we've got The Dark Forest by Saoirse Liu. So this is the second book in the 3-Body Problem trilogy. I recently just got this on audiobook actually from my library, so I am going to start this one pretty soon. I also love the cover of this book. I love the purple colours. It looks beautiful. And yeah, I just absolutely love the 3-Body Problem. That was on my best books of last year, and I don't want to leave too much of a gap between reading these so that I don't forget anything. So yeah, this one is going to be read very soon. And then the other one that I have here is The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. This is the final book in the Poppy War trilogy. I read the second one last year, and yeah, I'm really excited to finish it because it has been amazing so far. I love the characters in this book, I love the world building, I love the magic system, I love everything about it, so I definitely need to finish it this year. The next book on this list, I do have it physically somewhere. I think Mac has it, but it's Orbital by Samantha Harvey. This drew my eye a few times in Waterstones because the cover is stunning, but it's a really teeny tiny little book and I just didn't really want to pay for it in full. But then I saw that it won the Booker Prize. I've seen quite a lot of people talking about it and I thought I would just get it. So me and Mac are both going to read this at some point. Again, I don't really know what it's about, I'm sorry. It's like a sci-fi book, I'm guessing because of the planets on the front. So yeah, I'm excited to see what I think of it. Moving on to another book that I have physically. This is Lost in the Garden by Adam S. Leslie. This is one that I bought myself for my birthday. This is a folk horror book. So this book is set during a stifling summer in the English countryside, and we're basically following a group of girls who are going on this adventure to find a boy that one of them is linked to. I think he went on this journey before and he never came back, so they're going to try and find him. And I've heard that it's quite like fever dreamy. Like I said, it's a folk horror story, and I just feel like the cover is giving midsummer vibes. I will definitely be getting to this, I think in the summer when it's quite hot here. And I've added this as well because it seems like quite a chunky book, although actually it's only 400 and odd pages, so it's not as big as I thought it was, but I feel like having it on this list will make sure that I am more likely to read it. And then one of my most highly anticipated horror books is We Used to Live Here by Marcus Klewer. I've seen it everywhere recently. It's been on so many people's best books of the year. It's like horror book of the year. This book is about a family who live in this house, and one day another family turns up and says, can we come in, we used to live here. And then I think things get a little bit messy from there. I've heard that it's a little bit like House of Leaves, and I did enjoy House of Leaves, but it wasn't like as scary as I wanted it to be. I've heard that this one is pretty creepy, so I'm hoping that I will love this. I feel like it just has a lot of different elements that I already know I enjoy, and they're all going to come together. It's also reminded me a little bit of Cabin at the End of the World and Leave the World Behind, where we've just got people turning up and not leaving. And I feel like that is a very scary idea. So I think I will really love this one. I'm going to get to this one ASAP. Just a couple left now. So the next one is The Reservoir Tapes by John McGregor. So this one is a companion book to Reservoir 13, which was one of my favourite books that I read last year. So it's basically about this tiny little village in England, and in Reservoir 13 we were following this village over the course of 13 years in the aftermath of this girl going missing there. And it was just such a beautiful book. I loved it. The Reservoir Tapes is apparently, I think a journalist has gone to the village and is kind of revisiting a lot of what happened when this girl disappeared. And I think it's talking a little bit more about the actual disappearance itself. I will read anything that comes out of this world because I just absolutely loved it. So that's another one that I want to prioritise. And then another one from an author that I really loved, her previous book. This is Once There Were Wolves by Charlotte McConney. So I read Migrations a couple of years ago and I absolutely loved it. It was a 5-star book. I cried at the end. And I've heard that this one is even better. So Once There Were Wolves is a little bit more of a mystery story. I think it's again set in Scotland, and it's about these two sisters who are trying to reintroduce these wolves to the area, I think. I absolutely loved the focus on nature and animals in Migrations. So I'm excited to read more of that in this book. And then lastly, I have already started reading this book, so I feel like it's cheating a little bit because I did add it as I was already reading it, but whatever. It's Nuclear War, a Scenario by Annie Jacobsen. Partly why I've added this one to the list is because it's taken me a while to get through, okay? I started reading it as soon as we entered 2025, I think, and I'm still only like 18% of the way through. This is basically just this woman talking about what would happen if a nuclear war happened today, and it's going ever so slowly, like minute by minute, the different things that would be kicking in over in America to try and stop whatever's happening. And it is super fascinating, but I'm not an American. It's taken me a while to get my head around all the different abbreviations, all the different military groups and yada yada. So it's just been a lot. Obviously it's not pleasant to think about what would happen if a nuclear war happened right now. So I have been getting through it very slowly, which is partially why I put it on this list, because it will help me just motivate me to get through it. But also it means that I've got a little bit of a head start and it doesn't feel like an impossible task to read all 25 of these this year. So yeah, that is all the 25 books that I want to read in 2025. It is definitely quite a mammoth task because my reading challenge this year is only 40 books. So obviously this is over half the books that I would be reading for the year if I reach that. But I do think that I'm genuinely excited to read all of these books. So it shouldn't be too like taxing to try and get through them. I think there's a good mix in there of backlist stuff, more new release stuff. And I just feel like I'm going to have a really fun reading year if I do stick to this list. Let me know in the comments if you're doing the 25 books in 2025 challenge, or if you're not, are you doing anything similar? Let me know what you want to read this year. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it so that I know. Subscribe to this channel if you want to see more from me, and I will hopefully see you in my next video. Bye!